So when I really dug deep and really realized that I was loving everything first and not loving everything in the overflow of me, I corrected that. So I started setting clear boundaries, which is things I remind people in my course about being what self care really is, and it's about setting those clear boundaries with yourself, loving yourself, understanding yourself, and growing yourself, so you can pour into others. Everything should be love. You should love everything in your life in the overflow of you.
But she's definitely pouring some nuggets into us. She's talking about with the power of the mind and overflow. And you're not hearing that from nobody else but Danny, I'm sorry, by Rachel, talking about that. So, Danny, where Rachel speaks about finance, you speak in a literary voice and creative process. Your first book, Entangled with Deceit, touches on deep emotional themes. What was the heart behind that story?
Well, thank you. Let me say also thank you for having me on tonight. I am Danny Nicole. I am an author, um, an entrepreneur, a speaker, speaking that into existence. But this first novel that I published in 2024 called Entangled with Deceit, um, a lot of it, so it's fiction, but I took um, parts of my real life as a young woman, single, dating, relationship. So that's kind of where the book came from. My life experiences as a single woman, and um, and so I decided, you know, I want to talk about it, but at the time, I didn't want it to be nonfiction. I wasn't ready to be that vulnerable
Right.
about my own life. So the fiction, I said, I'm going to turn it into a fiction novel, change some names, change some scenery, but it is, based on a single woman that I was in my 20s and 30s. Um, and that's how it came to be.
So,
Mm.
would you say that the vulnerability is what impacted you personally?
Yes. Yes, I would say that. And that kind of leads up to, I know you're going to speak on this later, but with the second book, which is the anthology, The Moments for Moms, that one brought out the vulnerability. And that was a challenge because I had to really, share my true self with
Well, we
others. So,
definitely want to hear about how that
yeah.
came about with you. So, pinpointing a turning point can illustrate the mindset shift or opportunity that propelled you forward, offering insight into how change happens. Rachel, what was there? Was there a specific turning point or some aha moment when you realized things were changing for the better in your life and career?
I'll say this. And when I started in 2004 and became intentional, that was when everything pivoted immediately, because I immediately set up a clear plan of action of who I wanted to be and what my biggest why is. I think that what we do is we set goals without having something that is going to anchor us, something that's going to keep us accountable to our success. And what I did was my why to this day, 21 years later, is still the same. I am a person that my children are proud of. I don't speak in I don't speak in past tense, or I speak in where I'm going to be and where I want to be. So I speak in affirmation. I speak in affirming what is mine, and anything that I'm going for, I'm affirming that. So I was a person my children were was going to be proud of, and everything from that day forward reflected it. And when I really noticed the biggest change is when I went from sleeping on a couch and making $7 an hour to where my circumstances were changing. I want to say overnight, because in 14 months I was promoted 4 times because I
Wow.
was intentional about the person I was being. So when I showed up at work, I didn't show up at work as an employee. I showed up to work every time as the best version of me. And that doesn't mean I was the best every day. Every day I was getting better. Every day it was about moving one step forward. It wasn't 10 steps. I didn't go from 0 to 100. It was 0 to 10, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 60. And more and more the momentum came with the fact that I was constantly every day. This is my regimen, guys, and if you read my book Forged in Fire from Ashes to Empowerment, it speaks a lot to this. I'm very similar to what Danny was saying about not wanting to be vulnerable. I forced